To say, what would you have told the students there today?
It was an opportunity to speak with students actually individually about the opportunities and benefits that the Air National Guard has to provide, specifically education benefits, such as our tuition assistance, and then the career fields that qualify for either ten or $15,000 bonuses right now. But lots of other opportunities and great stuff that we got going on right now.
When I grew up, if people didn't have another prospect, then they thought, well, I'll join the military. It's not that way in the least anymore, is it?
No, I was kind of in the same boat, and it turns out joining the military was probably the best option for me,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because I didn't want to have anything to do with the military upon graduation of high school and getting into my first couple of years of college. But I mean, it was here I am, 17, almost 18 years later, and I can retire here pretty soon and still have enough life and time to get a second retirement.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. For folks who don't know, and you can recount this because the last time you were here, we talked about this. Your pathway through the military and to where you are today. I don't want to say there's any typical pathway, but it's not uncommon for people to follow the pathway that you have.
That's very true. We do work with a lot of people that are prior service that decide that they want to join the Air National Guard specifically because it gives them the opportunity to serve close to home. And a lot of folks decide they want to go back to school and get their education knocked out and stuff because they didn't have the chance to before.
Mm-hmm.
So they join the Air National Guard. They utilize our education benefits. They get to go to school full time in residence using the education assistance that we use to help them out with that. And it's 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks during the summer for some annual training, and it ends up being 39 calendar days a year, and the rest of the time they get to take care of themselves doing what they do.
You were at what age when you joined?
I was 21 when I joined.
And then your path took you where?
So I started out active duty. I did 4 years as a security forces member stationed out in Wyoming. Grew up in California, so Wyoming was a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And then I switched over to the Air National Guard and decided to stay in Wyoming until I transferred out here in July of 2020, doing the recruiting and retention stuff here for the state of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. And so you look at a morning like today with the weather that we have today, and you say, I used to live in Wyoming. This is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with weather like this, minimum the last 17 years, or probably actually about 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
just, being in Wyoming and now being here. So yeah, this is pretty typical winter for Wyoming as well.
Now, as a recruiter, you go, tell me the footprint that you cover.
So I cover Indiana County, Cambria County, Blair County, and Somerset counties.
And it's enough to keep you busy
Oh yeah,
with all of those
yeah.
travels.
There's a lot of windshield time, a lot of high school visits, a couple of colleges, and everything else. So it keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah, and when you're presenting Air National Guard to students, I'm sure because they're talking to you, they have at least some level of interest. But talk about that presentation and how important it is for them to get the information that you know they need to have if they're going to make this decision.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different settings that I go through in order to get in front of students that might potentially be interested or might benefit from it, and they don't even know that it's an opportunity that's available to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do lunchroom visits at high schools. I do presentations in classrooms, auditorium settings, talking with juniors and seniors because they're at that point now where it's like, hey, you're going to be graduating high school soon or getting into your last year of high school. It's time to start thinking about your future and what you want to do. So I sit down and I go through a presentation. I tell them a little bit about myself, and I wasn't born and raised a recruiter. I have a previous history, like I said, with my experience before getting into recruiting. And then I go into about the Air National Guard, what it is, what we do, our mission set and everything, the different installations around the state of Pennsylvania. And then I go into some of the benefits that I know that are going to be beneficial to them. Like I go into specifics about jobs. I talk about education benefits. I talk about some of our incentives. I even touch a little bit on healthcare because eventually when they get into the adult world, that's something that they're going to have to concern themselves with. And so going over that stuff actually gives them a a broader perspective of what's available to them and the benefits that can carry them into the civilian world for careers out there on top of what they could do in the Air National Guard.
The young women and young men that you speak with on behalf of Air National Guard, do they have a concept of what it is that the Guard does when you first meet them?
Initially, in most cases, not really. When they hear National Guard, immediately they think of Army. But a lot of students don't know that there is an Air Force National Guard. We were established back in 1947 when we became our own branch. So there was the Air Force, the Reserves, and the National Guard. And so a lot of times they're not familiar with that. And I say, well, you've heard of the Army National Guard, right? And they say, yeah, I know about that. And I say, well, we're the Air Force version of that. We have all the Air Force training, Air Force career fields, and all that stuff. But again, like the National Guard for the Army, we are 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year. So we are a reserve component. So you have the ability to go to school full-time, get a full-time job on the civilian side, come see us 1 weekend a month. And then I go into a spiel about how we create job marketability on the civilian side. We give them training and experience that is usually required at least 2 years by other civilian companies.
Are there common misperceptions that someone might have of what it is to be an Air National Guard and the benefits that it offers to you? Are there those sorts of barriers that you have to overcome?
I've run into situations where people think that the benefits that we have are too good to be true, but I'm like, no, it's right here in black and white. It depends on their qualifications and the jobs they get into, and what they qualify for and what we have available at the time. But yeah, they sometimes still think that it's a full-time thing, that they're going to go through basic training in tech school and then we're going to send them off to war, or we're going to have them, be sent to another duty station around the country or around the world. And I say, no, the great thing about the Air National Guard is you get to serve at home or close to home. Mm-hmm. You get to be close to family. You get to go to the school that you want to, especially if it's here in the state of Pennsylvania. And again, it's 1 weekend a month.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing opportunity that they have before them here, and the commitment is not a stringent type commitment. You do have to commit, though.
Yeah, I mean, the initial enlistment commitment is going to be for 6 years. But I mean, for a high school senior, for example, the first 2 years, you're either finishing your high school senior year, or you're going to finish your senior year, and then you ship off to basic training in tech school. So a lot of that is going to be training based. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get to your 2-year mark, and you're going to look back and be like, holy cow, that went quick, because you're so busy going through all the training, the upgrade training, getting acclimated to the career field that you're in, at the location that you're in, and all that stuff. So,
and those careers that you're training for within the Guard, mm-hmm. there are all kinds of translations into the civilian world, correct?
Yes, yeah. We have 70 different career fields within the Pennsylvania Air National Guard, just out of Johnstown or Pittsburgh alone. And most, if not all, of those career fields will translate out into the civilian world in one way, shape, or form.
We were talking this morning with Tech Sergeant Brandon Rodriguez about Air National Guard, how it operates here in this region, and how students have the opportunity to really expand their knowledge base, but really set themselves up with a lifetime worth of experiences and job skills and all of those things, and that's what you can do for them. As you think about your military career, and you mentioned you're not all that far off from retirement age.
Yeah, very close.
When you think about that, do you say to yourself, how fortunate I have been to have come across this, and how was it that you actually found Air National Guard?
Well, I have been very fortunate up to this point with all the benefits as far as health care and being able to take care of my family on that aspect, the additional assistance that they have to help me pay my mortgage or my rent, whatever I've got going on at the time. It's been phenomenal, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Excuse me. When I started out active duty and got stationed in Wyoming, there was a Air National Guard base that was just right on the other side of the interstate. And I was like, what is the Air National Guard? I wasn't familiar with it. I developed a friend that happened to be, excuse me, a recruiter there, and started talking to her. And she started telling me about all the benefits and stuff, and that it was 1 weekend a month, and that, it creates job marketability. And so I was like, okay, yeah, this sounds good. Because when I got done with my 4 years of active duty, I knew I wanted to be done with active duty, but I didn't necessarily want to hang up the uniform. And so when I explored the Air National Guard, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the fit for me. So I switched over, and I never looked back. And it was when I got into the Air National Guard, I had great opportunities active duty, but when I got into the Air National Guard, that's when I got the chance to travel. I got to do, multiple different jobs, and I built multiple skill sets and stuff that have carried me out into the civilian world, not to mention the education benefits and all that stuff that helped me to go back to school and get my degree.
How far across the world have those travels taken?
I have been I deployed to Afghanistan, and en route I got to see parts of Canada. I got to see England, Scotland, Romania, and then through other travels I've been a few other places and stuff for, short trips and stuff here and there to Africa and places like that.
I'm sure you're going to reschedule at Indiana and have a chance to talk with them and maybe some of the other schools around our area as this spring comes. Is there a specific time frame as these kids get close to high school graduation when you want to be able to get before them and to make your case for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily specific. I do speak, excuse me, with juniors and seniors. Juniors, it's nice to speak with them because they're at that pivotal point, especially in the spring, getting ready to finish up their junior year, where it's like, okay, look, you got one more year of school, and then what? And so speaking with them kind of puts the fire under their butt to start really thinking about their future if they don't have a trajectory yet. And then with the seniors, they are at that point, and some of them still, again, they haven't figured out what direction they're going to go in yet. And so the Air National, or maybe they have. And I say, well, either way, the Air National Guard is going to be able to help you with that. And it's a great time to speak with them, get them interested, and especially when they're 17 and at least a senior in high school, they can actually join, and that starts their time in the Air National Guard. And they'll be on what's called student flight, which prepares them for military lifestyle, for the Air Force, basic training, tech school, and all that kind of stuff. So it gives them some knowledge and everything else to utilize leading up to that.
A student or their parent listening to you right now saying, I wish I would have gotten to see him at school today. What do they need to do to get in touch with you?
If they want to get in touch with me directly, especially if you're in Indiana, Blair, Somerset, or Cambria counties, my work cell phone is 814-322-5088. Again, that's 814-322-5088. They can get in contact with me there. I'd love to sit down and speak with them, set up an interview to where they can come out to my office, and we can sit down and talk about what's going to be the best fit for them.
He's Tech Sergeant Brandon Rodriguez. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Making the drive in the weather today. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160.
Milk. It's one of nature's miracle foods. It tastes good, it works in many recipes, and it's packed with nutrition for adults and kids. An 8-ounce glass